everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of the KukieKnits podcast. My name is Ira. I am mostly a knitter. I occasionally dabble in other crafts. I'm originally from Kathmandu, Nepal, but now I have been living in Sydney for over a decade, so this is home. Welcome to my space on this little corner of the internet. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you that watches and leaves wonderful comments. I'm also available on Ravelry and Instagram as KukieKnits. And let's get into the knitting. I get so weird about the intro, but anyways. Hi everyone, how are you? Hope you've been keeping well. Let's get started. So today's first finished project is what I'm wearing. This is my Felix cardigan. I'll just stand up so you can have a look. I'll also insert a picture of me in it so you can have a clearer look of how it looks. This is a design by Amy Christophers, and I've knit it in Peace Fleece in the worsted weight. This color here is Zaria Fog. This color here is Bonnie Blue Gap, and the white is called Antarctic White. My finished thoughts on this project. I think that my neck ribbing is a touch too wide. I should have probably redone it, but this yarn's quite difficult to, it's quite difficult to do a sewn bind off with. And so once I'd done the whole bind off and I saw that it was a bit too open, I decided I was okay to live with it. Most of the time I probably won't even have the cardigan closed, or I'll have something else a bit more high neck underneath, so I'm okay with it. Or my hair will cover it because I always sort of have my hair out and down, and look at that. That ribbing fits great. I did use the buttons I showed in my first episode. These ones, I really like them. They're a good fit. I had mentioned in the first episode that I didn't know what these buttons were, but since then I've looked it up, and they're definitely metal. They're metal and they're stamped out and they're aged to sort of have a rusted effect. Yeah, that's my Felix cardigan. So this yarn was a gift from my friend, and I really like it. It blocked out beautifully. It's such a soft but warm, really fuzzy type of yarn, and I really find it nice on the skin. So I'm super happy with it. If the neckline really ends up annoying me, I might see if I can put an elastic cord, or if one of my friends can help me crochet it a bit closer. I think it looks alright. That's my first finished project. My second finished project, I don't have it on me, but I'll put a picture of them in. So I was definitely inspired by Emily of the High 5 Minutes, who's a great podcaster from Canada. She had recommended and made one of these coasters for herself. So the pattern is called Drip Coasters. It's a free pattern. It's meant to be with 2 strands of silk yarn. I, however, had a bit of baby acrylic, like in my stash from previous projects. I decided to play together with different colors and a variegated one to make 4 sort of similar but different type of coasters, and I think that they've come out really well. They're so cute. I really want to pair a set of them for myself. I had visited Canberra a couple of weekends ago to visit my friend, who's also a knitter, and she crochets a little bit as well. And the mug in the picture is actually her own handmade ceramics mug, so she's quite creative as well. And I made this as a gift for her because I think she would appreciate a cute little token. So those are my 2 finished projects. Short and quick and easy section today. Next up are my WIPs, my works in progress. I'll start off with a project that I haven't made too much progress on, but I'll still show you. This is the Poetry Pullover by Sari Nordland. I'm knitting it in Bendigo Woolen Mills Tweed, which is a discontinued yarn in the colorway Old Rose, but it's just a standard 8-ply. It's mostly wool, a little bit of viscose, and the neps I think are acrylic. So I finished the first chart with all of the increases. It's looking so good. I just had a couple more projects to work on, and I don't quite have the mental space to follow a lace chart in the little bit of time that I have free. So I've stopped for the moment, but I'm very excited to pick it back up now that I'm looking at it. It looks so good. Oh my lord. It's just a little bit more of the second chart to do before I split for sleeves. I'm done with most of the yoke. I can't wait. It looks so good. So that's my first WIP. My second WIP is probably the one that I've been working a lot on. It's been super, super fun. This is the sweater that I'm knitting for my husband. It's called the Scratch Stillet by Natalia Sinelshikova. She's also known as the Fiber Creative, and this is a pattern that's written for woolfolk. So I finished the front. How do I show you? Okay. So I've done the shaping for the front all the way up to the shoulders and bound off. I think that looks amazing. I was struggling a little bit with the instructions where the pattern changes. So all of this, the bottom of it, has been the same 4-row repeat. And then once you get here, like this side raglan starts creeping in, and then it goes into this V-shaped formation. I was struggling a bit with the written instructions. There's a lot for each row, and I'm struggling to find where I am. Anyways, managed to finish the whole thing. And then later I realized there was a chart for it. So I remember looking at the chart when I first started knitting on this, and I was looking when you start from the bottom, and it only had the chart for this section, like this section, which was quite a memorizable repeat. So I was like, okay, that's all the charts there for. But I didn't realize that there's also a smaller half chart for the middle section where the shaping begins, which would have been really helpful. Just because it's my preferred way of looking at a lot of information. I prefer it in a graphic form. I felt very stupid when I realized that there was a chart. But it's all done now, so it's fine. Is it even a project I'm knitting if I don't feel stupid about some part of it? And then now I'm on the back. Similar thing. I'm just on the section where the raglan starts moving inwards. And the back is just a 1x1 twisted rib the entire way up. So I don't think there's much shaping in here. I'm not sure. I don't think there definitely wasn't a chart for the back. But don't take my word for it, because clearly I don't know what charts exist and what don't. So I'm knitting this in Drops Nepal in the colorway medium gray. I'm really enjoying this knit. It's the kind of knitting I really like, with lots of details and geometry and shaping, and do something here, do something here, do something here. So even while I was struggling with the instructions, I was really enjoying the knitting. So it's contradictory, and I sometimes don't even make sense to myself. I'm like, why do I actually call myself a crafting sadist. Because unless it's like a little bit painful, it's not fun. Only in crafting. Okay, that's way more information than anyone needed about how my brain works. This is the Scratch Stillet. Hopefully by the next podcast I'll have finished the back and seamed it together. And then my husband can try it on. And then the neck, he wants the massive cowl neck. So lots more ribbing in my life still. But I'm really enjoying this. I actually think I will end up making one for myself because I would love a slightly more cropped version for myself with that detail. It's so beautiful, and probably just a crew neck. That would be nice. That's my second WIP. And my third WIP is a test knit. So I'm knitting the Necessity Jumper, which is a pattern that's in the works by my friend Kat, Oliphant Cat on YouTube, Katrina. And this is knit in Woolen the Gang Feeling Good Yarn. In all clearness, transparency, this yarn was provided to me as yarn support. Well, it was provided to Kat, who is providing it to me as yarn support, so I did not pay for this yarn. The way this worked out was I had been wanting to test or try a blown yarn, and I've been talking to Kat about it because Kat and I are friends in person, and she was like, well, I'm actually designing a pattern in blown yarn, and if you want to test it. And I was like, yes, and it's a really cute pattern. And then she just happened to be able to get yarn support for it, and I'm lucky enough that she got it sent to me. So this is the colorway Eucalyptus Green, which is so pretty, and this is the colorway Forest Green. And this is 12 ply, but it's super light. Like, it almost, of course, like it exists, but the weight of it is so light it feels like it doesn't exist. What does that mean? It's 70% alpaca, 7% merino, and 23% nylon. And it's one of those yarns that has a little mesh tube, like a nylon mesh tube, that all these like fibers are blown into, and it's just so light. The pattern itself is a raglan, and it has this beautiful cable detail running across the top of the shoulder. It's going to run down the whole arm here and underneath at the waist. Kat's done a color block version with the darker color on top and the lighter color on the bottom, and I'm doing it the other way around just to show variation of how it can look the other way. So I'm doing the light eucalyptus on the top. Look at that gorgeous cable. So fun. And then the body is going to be in this color. The sleeves are still in the lighter color, so I'm really excited. This is knit on 6.5mm needles, which was a size I didn't have. I don't do too much bulky weight knitting, so I had to go buy it, and it's gone by so fast. I made a really stupid mistake by not reading the pattern instructions, as usual, and I had to undo, like, back up to the ribbing, and basically, like, I knit the whole way back down in a day. It's been super quick. It's so pretty, and it's so soft. I really like this yarn. I would be very into trying a couple more blown yarns. I'm also planning to visit home early next year, and I think my sister would probably love a soft cozy sweater in something like this, so I might knit her something out of this yarn. Yeah, so that's my test knit WIP, the Necessity Jumper by Oliphant Cat or Katrina Walzer. I will link her YouTube and Ravelry store down below. And my last WIP, in the past few weeks, have been on a mission to get through a bit more of my stash. I actually went through and organized all of my stash, put it into Ziploc bags because they were sort of just loose in the bags that the packaging came in. And I realized that I do have a decent sized stash, but a lot of it is actually older acrylic yarn that is not something I really knit clothing with anymore. I also sort of cataloged all of my leftovers, so I'm trying to find projects to use a bit more of my stash yarn in, which I think is something every knitter is always on the lookout for. It's like, what do I do with this leftover yarn? A few years ago, I had used this Bendigo Woolen Mills cotton in 8 ply in the colorway Peacock. And it was when I first started knitting, so I ordered, I don't even know how many balls of yarn I must have ordered for that cardigan. I think it was like when I was like, oh, I'll just get 1 extra ball to be safe, but then the Bendigo balls are 200 grams, so it's like having 4 50-gram balls. It's a lot more yarn to have. I had this whole ball untouched and a small amount of another one, and it's cotton. And one of my friends is having a second baby, so I decided I would use it to make a little pram or like an infant blanket. I am in the middle of a row. I should have knitted. I'm sorry, I'm just being a bad podcaster. Okay, so it's just a simple ribbing pattern. It's a 3x1 rib with a little garter and selvage stitch border. This pattern is it's called the Jack and Jill blanket. It's a free pattern on Ravelry by Mariana Mel. I think she has the blog, Mariana's Lazy Daisy Days. She has a ton of really cute, simple, which I think looks better on babies and infants, patterns. A lot of them are free, lots of headbands, hats. I've always seen her name popping up and around, but once I started knitting this baby blanket, I went through her designs on Ravelry, and it's such a massive amount of designs. Like, I think it's a great resource for knitters, especially for little gift knits. Yeah, that's the Jack and Jill blanket in cotton, so it's nice and easy to maintain and wash and not irritate the little baby. That's my last WIP. I have 4 WIPs on the needles. I also have the mitten that I haven't touched since the last time I pulled it out for the podcast, so that's 5 WIPs, which is usually a lot. I can usually work on maybe 3 at a time, which is why the poetry pullover has been put aside, because I can do, one is like my train knitting or going out knitting. The test knit is the one I'm primarily working on at the moment, because that is with the time limit, of course. And then the scratch stillet is the one that I'm enjoying, and it's still a easy enough pattern that now that I've finished the front, that I can sort of keep up with it. So once I'm finished with either, I think the test knit might be the one that I first finished, then I'm going to go full head first into the poetry pullover and not cast anything on. I think I'm telling myself more than you guys. I think 3 WIPs is about the max I can handle. The mitten is just a UFO. It's just been put aside. Once I actively start working on it, then that counts as WIP number 4. Why am I telling you guys what I should be mentally telling myself? Don't cast on anything new. Okay. Coming up to the acquisitions. As I said, I was visiting Canberra, so if you're in Canberra, and we were doing wine tours and driving around, so obviously we had to go to Blackwattle Farm. I got 2 skeins of yarn at Blackwattle Farm. So the first one is this wild colored skein. Like, I love it. It's on the Grevillea Luxe 4-ply, which is a 60% superwash merino, 20% superfine alpaca, and 20% nylon. And Angela dyes it on her farm. This is in the colorway Masquerade. My plan with it is to maybe use it in the Stephen West MCAL this year, because I'm definitely going to do it again. If it's something that he's like, go nuts, then I'll use this and place all the other colors around it. It has a lot of beautiful like pinks and purples and blues and like darker like black. Even has a bit of oranges, ochre yellow type colors. So that's my first skein. The second skein is the Correa Chunky, which is a 12-ply 100% baby alpaca yarn that's been dyed on the farm as well. And this is in the colorway Sage. So I'd already made a purchase, and then I think one of my friends was buying one, and he said it was on clearance because they're discontinuing this. It's such a nice soft yarn. So me, My friend Ane that you met before on maybe episode number 2, and my friend Laura, who's the one that lives in Canberra that I made the coasters for, we bought one each. And we're going to make matching, but I think we got different colors. Yes, we did get different colors. We're going to make matching cowls as a little memory of our trip together. So we've already decided on the pattern, and once I'm finished with the test knit, I did just say I wouldn't cast on anything, but I think I'm going to cast this on. But it's just a cowl. I'll just replace it as my train project, so it's not anything too complicated, I think. The skein looks a bit janky because I opened it up and I put it back together to show you guys. So those are my 2 acquisitions from the Blackwattle farm. While we were in Canberra, coincidentally, they also happened to have the handmade markets on, which I had never been to before. It was huge. And I got this really nice project bag. So it's got like a waxed canvas type thing at the back, and then like a patchwork in the front, cute leather pull, really nice solid zip. The inside looks like it's some sort of canvas or linen as well. I did get her to put the card in. So it's from Mickey and Lou, L-O-U, and it's a handmade, of course, I bought it at the handmade markets. It's a hand sewn, beautiful project bag, and I loved some of her bigger totes, but it was a bit over the budget that I had given myself to buy at the handmade markets. So I will keep them in mind, and if there's any special occasion coming up, I would really love one of her totes with this cool patchwork type stuff, and like I think it was either canvas or leather on the straps, and really, really good. So Mickey and Lou, they're on Instagram as Mickey and Lou. They're on Facebook. They have their own website as well. It's mickeyandlou.com.au. So if you're looking for really, really nice handmade project bags, I'd highly recommend her. And she was lovely. I also found a stall that was selling pom-pom magazines, like back issues on discount for $10. Gorgeous. So I recognize this issue immediately because there's a pattern in it that I really, really, really want to make. It's by the same designer that's designed the Scratch Stillet, Natalia Sinelshikova. There's also other patterns in here that I want to make, but obviously I've been following her on Instagram and she posts this pattern a lot. It's called the A-U-B-A-D-E. Obad pullover. It's really cute. It's made in like a fluffy mohair. There's other really nice patterns in it as well. The cover pattern, I was looking at it and I was like, oh my gosh, that kind of looks like a yoke, like a circular yoke version of the Hoey Locatelli pattern that just came out called Lacy and Boxy. And turns out it is by Hoey Locatelli. That's so funny that I recognize that. There's a few other patterns that are really nice. I really like this one too. It's called the Niebla by Camilla Larsen Estvelier. Super cute. Yeah, so I think that was a bargain. There was another couple of issues there as well, but this was the one I really wanted because it had Natalia's pattern in it, and I got it for $10. Bargain. So a while ago there was a drops mohair sale, and me and my friend had ordered it together, and it had been sitting at her house for a while, and I finally got it. So I've got a sweater quantity of this drops kid silk mohair. I think the color was sea green. However, it's a long print mohair, so you can see it has sections where the color is lighter and darker. I didn't realize that that's what this was doing. Like you can really see it in the, like the variation in the colors of the mohair. I didn't realize that that's what I bought. However, I'm actually quite interested in seeing how it works out. I bought this to go with the skein of Holst. Super soft in the colorway Mariner. It has, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It's quite a bluey green. Like it has bits of green in it. That's what I wanted to accentuate with this colorway, like a bluey green mohair. I hope that works out because I have a sweater pattern in mind for it. I have enough mohair and the fingering weight yarn for it. I hope they go well together. I think it would be interesting to see how this commercial version of a variegated mohair works out. Yeah. If you've been watching my podcast for a while, you will know that I'm a fan of buying yarn from D-stashes. So I managed to get my hands on some more D-stash yarn. Summer yarn this time. I'm getting ready for summer. The sun's out. It's actually quite warm, so it's coming. Last summer was so rainy and so like weirdly cold. I feel like we haven't had a summer in since the summer the year before. So the first one I got was a sweater quantity of Rowan Summer Light DK in this cream color. I need to swatch. I have a couple of patterns that this would work out for, but one of the patterns, I've seen people use Drops Bell in it, which is also DK weight. It's been classified as worsted, like the pattern says to use a worsted. So I need to swatch and see if that's okay, and if it isn't, there's another pattern I have in mind back up. And I think a white comfy cotton shirt is really good for summer. Sorry, they're still in there, Ziploc bags. And this yarn was the reason why I bought from that D-stash. And I also bought a sweater quantity, so we always end up buying yarn together. So I got my hands on some Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway, I think it's called Strawberry Ice Cream. I thought it was Strawberry Milkshake. I've got 6 balls of this. I think this has to become one of the camisoles, right? Like, what else can this be? I'm so excited to knit one of the camisoles for summer. I'm tossing up between the camisole that's like a broken rib V strappy one, or the camisole that goes up into the neck. However, with the neck ones, I can't usually get away without wearing a bra, and most of the time I'm okay if my bra strap shows. It's like breaking news, woman with chesticles is wearing a bra. But the cut of that and in this color, I think the bra would really distract from what it looks like. So maybe I'll go with the one with the strap that I can wear a bra. Anywho, one of those is going to become this. Oh, this is going to become one of those. And my last acquisition, I was in the Hunter Valley last weekend for a wedding, and I didn't take my camera because we didn't have any yarn related trips planned. And we were going for lunch to this one place, and I look like the car pulls in, and in giant lettering it says Alpaca Barn. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to go in there. And I remember this store being in the Rocks in the Sydney, but they're not there anymore. And it's like a Australian store that has a lot of products by alpaca, lots of products from alpaca, and they have yarn. So this is the Tranquility, which is an 80% baby alpaca, 20% merino wool, and this is in the colorway Mulberry, and this is a DK weight. So I got the DK weight version, 2 skeins of it. I really want to try it. I would love to make a beanie, and I think because it has a 20% wool in it, it will hold on to the elastic, like it'll counteract hopefully the sort of ness of alpaca because I really want to make a ribbed beanie. My husband chose this color. Yeah, that's my last acquisition. Okay. So coming up to the Knit Life chat, I've just been meeting up with my knitting friends here and there. And like I said, I went to Canberra to Blackwattle Farm and I got a little bit of footage of my trip in Canberra. At Blackwattle Farm, they were having a dyeing workshop. So we sort of just like popped in and popped out, but I tried to get a little bit of footage just of the yarn store, but we traveled to a few different wineries and I really enjoyed my trip to the wineries. We hired a car, my friends and I, and a driver so that we wouldn't have to, it wouldn't be a designated driver. We used the company called Grape Escapes, and that driver, Rodney, and his wife Helen, it's a couple that run it. They were lovely. Like, I kind of want to go back and do the other wineries because he had so many suggestions. It was like really great service. Helen even drew up the itinerary, and I was like, hey, can we have a stop at Blackwattle Farm? And then I asked Rodney, I was like, has anyone ever asked to stop here? And he was like, no, I had to look up what it was. So I was telling him, I was like, well, I'm a knitter and Blackwattle Farm has really nice yarn and hand-dyed stuff. And then he was like, oh, cool, I never knew they were here. So maybe he'll recommend it to other people next time. Look at me. Going around spreading yarn knowledge. So I have a little bit of footage of my trip coming up, and that should be the end of my babble for today. Thank you so much for watching if you stuck around till the end. I always appreciate all of your company. I will get on to knitting ASAP so I can have more stuff to show you next time. Thank you everyone. Have a good few weeks until I see you next time. Bye.